Hello, hello. Beatsbacks here, back with the second set of pre-release kits for the Brothers War. So, let's see who will win this time, Mishra or Urza. Last time, I think Urza won, because it just had the clearer strategy. But, if I'm being honest, it's been a little over a week since I recorded that, and I don't entirely remember. So, but we'll see who gets the better sealed pool this time. You know, pretty sure we got it to very last time. All right, so starting off with Mishra, a cool black and yellow die. Yep. All right. And for Mishra, we got Takasia's Welcome, a very good include for sealed deck. Good start to one of the mono white or not mono white, but one of the white archetypes. But Urza starts off with a bomb. Platoon Dispenser is nuts and sealed. So being able to create tokens, being able to come back, just being a big 4/6 body and a draw engine all together, like that is a bomb in limited. So Urza has a strong, or Mishra has a strong draw engine. Urza has a strong draw engine on a body with unearth and a token generator. So let's see. What do we get for Mishra? So starting off with a Disfigure, Death Charge Colossus, Mishra's Domination, a Gorthian Sprite, very strong, Power Stone Fracture, very strong, Machine Over Matter, Giant Growth, Air Marshal, Gaia's Gift, Yodian Frontliner, which is just a solid card, Defabricate. Oh, we pulled a Mishra in our Mishra set, so a good looting effect. With some ramp, another Deathbloom Ritualist. The Mishra packs seem to really like Deathbloom Ritualist because out of 2 pre-release kits so far, we've now pulled 3 Deathbloom Ritualists. So we need to actually mark that down on our pull chart. So 208. That's the 9th Deathbloom Ritualist we've gotten. Then Foundry Inspector, which is very good, and a giant Cinder Maw, which is very solid. So it looks like we've got the start of a fairly decent red pool. Maybe red-green? Or red-black, depending on what kind of removal we have, because we've got some solid removal there between Power Stone Fracture and Disfigure. Okay. Urza starts things off with a bit of Reunion, Burrowing Razor Maw, Killzone Acrobat, Recommission, which has the start of maybe a white reanimate. Curate to go along with that. Epic Confrontation. Aeronaut's Wings, which is very solid. Aeronaut's Wings often gets underrated, but is very solid in sealed and in draft. Weakstone Subjugation, Zephyr Sentinel, so it looks like we may have the start of blue-white flyers. Got Thopter Architect to continue to go in there. Haywire Might, one of the best pieces of removal. Phyrexian Flesh Gorger, yeah. So the Urza deck definitely has a strong start here. Ivory Tower, which doesn't really do much, and Sealed, Swamp, and a Soldier Token. Actually, we're going to pull the Ritualist up here. So the Urza deck starting strong with a double Mythic pull. And those fit in pretty much whatever colors you want, so you could very easily run in a blue-white archetype with a high top end. So then we continue with Dredging Claws, Aeronaut Cavalry, which is a solid solid white flyer, Third Path Savant, Mishra's Onslaught, a pretty heavily miscut Wasteful Harvest. And put that off to the side. And a heavily miscut Carrion Locust. Looks like they were probably miscut from the same sheet. It looks like our Mishra's Onslaught and Third Path Savant are also from the same sheet. And the Aeronaut Cavalry. Okay, and the Dredge Claws. So our commons, our first 6 commons appear to have come from the same miscut sheet. Which is interesting. Then we have Stone Retrieval Unit, which is, pretty good for sealed. It's a good B. It's a good filler. Tower Worker, Winged Commando, Static Net, a great piece of removal. The Fall of Krug, Pyrrhic Blast, and we start things off with Drafna, or wrap things up with Drafna, Founder of Latnam, which is very, very powerful and sealed. And Liquimetal Coating, which would basically, along with Drafna, allow you to return anything you want to your hand, and a token card. It's a solid pickup for the Mishra deck. Let's see what Urza gets to go along with it. Moment of Defiance, Union of the Third Path, which is making some waves in Standard. Stern Lesson is a very, very good way of digging and creates Power Stones, so blue-white is still looking very strong. Whirling Strike, which this one appears to be miscut along the same lines. These others, are these miscut too? These are. Not as badly as some of the others, but definitely pretty big miscut there. Shoot Down does not appear to be as miscut. Gix's Caress. A second Aeronaut's Wings, so another Weakstone Subjugation. Forging the Anchor. Yodian Frontliner. So we are very, very strong in the blue-white area. And then Loran of the Third Path to add to that. So it's a really good piece of of removal in this set, and it is a draw engine. Then we have Foundry Inspector, which is very solid in this set. Almost an auto include, because, I mean, a 3-2 for 3 isn't bad, but then reducing all of your artifacts with how heavily emphasized artifacts are in this set, it's very strong pull. And then Slagstone Refinery, which is really good for, you know, just powering through, especially if you're in a artifact-based deck. It's a good way of building up to like an early Flesh Gorger or doing tricky things with Platoon Dispenser. All right, so Urza's still very firmly on top with these pulls. I could even see going black-white with some of these. So let's see what Mishra continues with. Blanchwood Prowler, Mishra's Juggernaut. Mishra's Juggernaut is a very, solid filler. Gixian Infiltrator, which is good if you have a lot of sacrifice effects. Veteran's Power Blade, good piece of equipment. Retrieval Agent, Excavation Explosion, which is a solid piece of red removal. It gives you a Power Stone. Another Stone Retrieval unit. So you definitely have a bit of ramp in Mishra's deck. Another Tower Worker. Wing Commando. Monastery Swift Spear, which falls back into that red idea that we were going with. Maybe blue-red over here. Thopter Mechanic. Combat Thresher. Very nice pickup. It's very hard to deal with and draws you a card. Painful Quandary, which is very solid. Ornithopter, schematic edition, and a foil borderless Saheeli Filigree Master. Yeah, so this would push us very heavily into blue-red. That is fantastic. So that is definitely a bomb for Mishra. It does look like Urza's synergy overall may be stronger. Saheeli is very, very strong, though. Let's see how Urza responds with that. It's got a Retrieval Agent, Scrapsmith. Argorthian Opportunist is very strong. That one's miscut as well. Emergency Weld. Ambush Paratrooper. Desynchronize. Let's see, Evolving Wilds. Always good to see and sealed. Overwhelming Remorse. Loran's Escape. Pairs nicely with our Flesh Gorger and with our Platoon Dispenser. Mine Worker. Evangel of Synthesis, very strong and sealed. Argivian Avenger, a decent fill card. Knowing Vermin. And Queen Kayla Ben Krug. So, yep. And then Liquimetal Coating, the bear token. I guess we do normally pull our tokens off to the side. So far it seems that there's much better synergy and we're much more open in general. On the Urza side, Stone. Yeah. But the Urza side, or the Mishra side has that Saheeli, and if we know anything about Planeswalkers, it's that they are busted and sealed. Got so far, yeah, that pairs nicely with the Saheeli, so does Monastery Swift Spear and Wing Commando. Retrieval Agent can be a big, just kind of wall. Mishra's Juggernaut, very strong. Pyrrhic Blast, very strong removal. Second Wing Commando, okay. And we got Giant Cindermaw and Foundry Inspector. Looting with Mishra Excavation Prodigy. Udian Soldier's just solid. Air Marshal goes well. Use Machine over Matter as some removal. Power Stone Fracture is an option. Mishra's Domination is an option, and so is Depth Charge Colossus. So, could definitely do some interesting stuff here. I feel like this would be a good, probably good low to the ground blue-red with Saheeli as our top end. But we're only halfway through the packs, so let's see where we go from here. Let's see, we have Stern Lesson. Goes great in that blue-red concept. Whirling Strike, a good combat trick in the same vein. Shoot Down, which is solid removal in this set. Kix's Caress. Deadly Riposte, or Repoussé, which I still feel is a little undervalued and sealed for this set. Coilos Rock. Energy Refractor, which is great fixing. Power Stone Engineer. Power Plant Worker. Astronaut's Intervention. Skyfisher Spider. Slagstone Refinery, also very good. Astronaut's Harvester. And Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter, which goes along in our idea for blue-red kind of tempo-y thing. Because it gives you the ability to play out your artifacts on your opponent's turn. And it can keep growing if left unchecked. And Soul Guide Lantern. Just two. Which can be good for, you know, disrupting opponent's graveyard strategies. So it's a very solid sideboard card at the very least. Right, let's see what Urza has. Pendragon Strongbow. Monosis Tinkering. A lot of miscut cards in this set. Dredging Claw rather. Aeronaut Cavalry. Third Path Savant. Mishra's Onslaught. Another Evolving Wilds. Overwhelming Remorse, which is quite possibly the best piece of black removal in the set. Second Loran's Escape, which is very solid. Mishra. A Monastery Swift Spear of their own. Thopter Mechanic. A Deathbloom Ritualist of their own. And there it is, Helm of the Host. So, Helm of the Host, Phyrexian Fleshgorger, I don't see how you can really deal with that. Like, that's, yeah. I'm gonna say that this is more of my style. What we're ending up with over on the Urza side. Helm of the Host Phyrexian Flesh Gorger is just amazing. So, but also like we've got 3 mythics over here and we've got 1 over here. So all right, so we got Mishra's Domination, a second Agorthian Sprite, second Power Stone Fracture, Phalanx Veteran, Latinam Adept, which synergizes really well with our Sekili, Rock Hunter, which is a good filler card, a Blitz Automaton, which fits in nicely with the blue-red theme. That's a good top-end card. Fog of War, Energy Refractor, Pelagic Dragon Engine. Now that is very solid, especially in the blue-red concept that we've been looking at. Recruitment Officer, very good. Skyfisher Spider, and the pivot that we have here with green black, there's a lot that would open up as well. I believe we may have pulled another one earlier. Then we have Blast Zone, which is an interesting piece of removal. Chromatic Star, which would be good for fixing. There's a little bit of draw, and a bear token. Let's see where Urza goes. Another Stern Lesson. Whirling Strike, Shoot Down, Vix's Caress, Deadly Repoussé. Another Overwhelming Remorse. So that could actually push us into potentially going black-white with this, because we now have 2 Overwhelming Remorses on Urza's side, at least. A third Loran's Escape, Mine Worker, Scrapwork Cohort, which is very solid and sealed. The being able to create, tokens twice, which is really nice, and just putting 5, or not 5, but being able to put 4 power across 2 bodies onto the field for 4 mana is pretty solid. Spectrum Sentinel, which can be good for. There's not a whole lot of multicolored stuff in this set, but if your opponent has like a big bomb, it can be useful. Sarenth Steelseeker and Yodian Dissonant, which synergize very well together, and then a Brushland, and Mishra's Bauble. Now, Mishra's Bauble is actually really solid and sealed. It lets you play a little lighter on lands and can really help you get to things that you need to. And a foil Aeronaut Cavalry. So that doesn't really help our pickups. Unless we end up going into black and into white, black, green, which wouldn't be terrible with what we've pulled. Like we've pulled some very solid green interaction, and our white is just on point, and being able to splash the black could help with getting to something like a Deathbloom Ritualist or something along those lines to power out our pretty awesome combo of Helm of the Host and either Phyrexian Flesh Gorger or Platoon Dispenser. Alright, so Wasteful Harvest, Carrion Locust, neither of which really do much for us. Disenchant, which is solid removal in this set. Mightstone Animation. That could be useful for some early aggression. Conscripted Infantry, which is actually not bad if we're going the blue-red strategy. Being able to get a second body for 3 mana is pretty nice. Rust Goliath, Ashnod's Intervention, Epic Confrontation, our first Aeronaut swings on Mishra's side, Swift Cure Drake, which can be good for getting back our Saheeli if it dies, Evangel of Synthesis, Haywire Might, Argivian Avenger, and a Brushland of their own. So Mishra's and a second Foundry Inspector, which that's actually kind of nice. So the Mishra side has kind of hit a hiccup here, where it's pulled 2 lands, neither of which are really great for what we're trying to do. So I think the card quality on the Urza side has been much higher. So let's see. For Urza, we have Urza's Rebuff, Sibling Rivalry, Gnarlroot Pallbearer, Disfigure, which falls back into, if we go black-white, Takacia's Amulet, which is decent include. Death Charge Colossus, a 4th Lorenz Escape. We are going to play a Phyrexian Fleshgorger, and we are going to protect it forever. Mine Worker, another Scrapwork Cohort, very good. A Scrapwork Rager, which is good for digging. Fulagi Excavation, Loran, Disciple of History. All right. This could let you get back your Fleshgorger or Platoon Dispenser if it does happen to get destroyed, or your Helm of the Host. So that's not bad. Arbalest Engineers, Hall of Tagson. Now, this is solid color fixing, and it lets you keep making Power Stones if you don't have something specific to do. And then Scrap Trawler, again, is a good way to get stuff back. So that's very, very high quality pulls on the Urza side. So if it were me, let's see, I would probably start on the Mishra side. So we've got our Foundry Inspectors, which are just fantastic. First, I would start by pulling out all my artifacts, see what we have there. We're definitely going to be playing Saheeli. Like that, there's no question there. I don't think you really have much of a choice but to play the Saheeli. Well, I mean, you have the choice, but any choice where you're not playing the Saheeli is probably a bad one, because Saheeli is just that solid. Latinum Adept goes along, synergizes well in that idea, and then we start looking at our removal as well. Okay, so we do have 2 Skyfisher Spiders, so that might be a pivot that we could go into, but I don't like the idea of that. Coilless Rock is very solid. Yeah, Stern Lesson goes well. Got the Depth Charge Colossus. Machine Over Matter, Air Marshal, Frontliner, Mishra Excavation Prodigy, the other Foundry Inspector, Giant Great Maw, Wing Commando. Pyrrhic Blast could be a decent finisher. Mishra's Juggernaut is okay. Wing Commando, Swift Spear, Thopter Mechanic, Ornithopter, Thresher. Excavation Explosion is decent removal. Our Liquid Metal Coating. You know, like, you have this, so you have this optional green-black strategy with Skyfisher Spider and your Power Stone Fractures. Like, you've got good removal in green-black. Carrion Locust. But, and you've got the second Argorthian Sprite, rather. Like, you have some combat tricks and some discard, but the green-black removal is actually really strong. I don't know. Like, I'm so heavily pulled to blue-red in this, but the more I look at it, the more green-black looks like an option. Like, because you've got 6 decent pieces of removal. You still run your Foundry Inspect. Like, you run your Foundry Inspectors regardless. Let's look at what our rares are again. So we got Brushland, Blast Zone, which you might play the Blast Zone. Liberator you play regardless. So if you're running green-black, you definitely play the Painful Quandary and the Deathbloom Ritualist. If you don't, then you definitely play the Drafna and the Sihili Filigree Master. So those are your 2 real pivot points. So just something to think about there.